You are not defined by where you are right now. Hello and welcome back to the More to Life podcast, episode 10. In today's episode, we're going to be talking all about your identity. So whether that's your dream identity, bridging the gap between your current and your dream identity, or just maintaining your identity regardless of the external circumstances and people around you. And it's going to be so juicy. I don't know if you're actually ready for it, but if you think you are, you may continue. So, the win of the week this week is I just made a huge, expansive step towards my dream life. This week, I invested in a high level coach to help me with my money mindset, and I was so excited to start. Oh my god, like I have no words. I have been working on this stuff, money mindset and everything, for about a year or two. Obviously, I've been in the whole personal development space for 5, 6, maybe 7 years. I don't know at this point. But money mindset specifically, it's been about 1 or 2 years since I started working on it. And the thing is, there are always going to be more levels to these things, more layers. And sometimes we can't always see those layers when we look at them ourselves. Like we like to say that we're honest with ourselves and that we'll be honest about the kind of things that we do and think and everything, but when it comes down to it, we often just don't have the awareness around certain belief systems because we can't fully look at it objectively. But when you've got an external person looking at your limiting beliefs and everything objectively, whew, massive. So I am so excited to start. And that's the really cool thing about investing in your personal development is you're going to get to this point where you are literally, it's like moving up a level in a game. Like life is literally a game. It's kind of how I see it because it's a lot more fun to think of it that way. But you level up, and when you get to that point, you have access to more experiences, more material goods, the house, the car, the designer shoes, whatever it is. Whether it's a new level of wealth or a new level of fitness or a new level of handwriting skills, whatever the up level is for you, it unlocks new experiences. And that is so fucking cool to me. Okay, your identity. This is who you are as a person, literally who you are, your personality traits, your core values, your core beliefs, who you show up as in your daily life, and ultimately the mark you leave on this world, whether that's you being in the public eye or the mark, the impact you leave on the people in your life. And sometimes in a world where we are constantly told to be a more watered down version of ourselves, this kind of stuff is so crucial to dive deep into because I don't want that for you. I don't want you to feel like you're not being your full authentic self, your true self, watering your personality down. Honey, it is literally the most beautiful gift that you have. Your personality is so unique to you. Don't, what's the word? I don't know. I can't think of the words. Don't strip the world of the experience of having you as fully authentically you in it. That's the fucking tea. So I'm gonna start out here by asking you a question. Do you ever feel like you go into certain situations, certain social situations or environments, and you almost retreat back into your shell? You lose your sense of self a bit. Maybe you just show up as a really watered down version of yourself. Like if you are my Wadi, then you show up as like the really watered down, kind of pathetic version of my Wadi, and not like the strong, powerful, possible laxative effect kind of my Wadi. You want to have a laxative effect on people, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and say that I have absolutely been there where I've felt like, a watered down version of the true person that I am. And only in the last year or so have I truly acknowledged it, well, realized this, and finally started to shift it. So the pandemic actually really highlighted this for me. And I'm sure if it's been a thing for me, then it's absolutely been a thing for other people out there. So when everything closed down initially at the start of COVID, I kind of saw it as such a blessing. I was like, oh my God, I've been given the gift of time. I get to use all this time to work on my personal development. I started a true crime YouTube channel. I was working on that constantly, everything, all these things. And really felt like I got so far with it. I did a lot of mindset work. My perspective on life was totally different than it was before the pandemic. And it was honestly amazing. And then I got back to work, like work when things opened again. And at this point I really felt like I lost my progress, or I kind of fell back a few steps. I got to that point again where I was back to a lack mentality. I never felt like there was enough. I was never really in that positive mindset with a growth mindset that I always usually have, or definitely did have during those lockdown months initially. And I was rarely doing any gratitude, and I always felt like I was on the grind. In reality, though, I hadn't lost my progress. There was just one major thing that I hadn't done. I hadn't solidified my identity. Now, when I say this, I'm very aware of the fact that I did do quite a lot of work on my belief systems and, enforcing those positive beliefs. Things like I am the type of person who has a positive outlook, who is in the best shape of her life, yada, yada, yada. But that's all well and good when you are in your bedroom for 6 months at a time and you don't have any reason to leave the house or interact with other human beings because there's a pandemic. Because you don't actually get to practice your new beliefs. You don't get to practice your new identity in real life settings. It's only ever really through visualization and stuff like that, which is powerful. They're very powerful tools, but you got to actually practice it in real life because real life is the whole thing that we got going on here. So I hadn't done any work about solidifying my identity regardless of the external situation I was in, right? So what this meant for me was I would go to work and I would unknowingly allow people's ideas of me to morph the person that I actually showed up as. For example, let's say your colleagues at work see you as a very shy person who always keeps to herself. Well, over time, unless you solidify your identity as something else, or, maybe you want to be the class clown, like the Joker in work. Joker? Yeah, kind of. Let's say you want to be the one who's always cracking jokes, making people laugh. If that's the person you want to be and you don't solidify your identity as that, you could believe that when you're home alone and nobody challenges that. But when you go to work and people still see you as the shy, quiet one, always keeps to herself, that will end up being the case still. As in, you will still be shy, quiet, keep to yourself if you don't solidify your identity. So ultimately, the message here is you decide your identity. But even deeper than that, you decide that that is your identity regardless of if you're chatting to your boss, if you're chatting to your parents, your friends, your barista, or even audience online. I know a lot of you are trying to build an audience online as well. Solidify your identity so that you're the same person no matter what one of those things you are. And yeah, okay, you could argue that you're probably not going to speak the same to your grandparents as you are to your high vibe who always love talking about probably not. But ultimately, you're going to have the same personality traits. And that's the thing to focus on here. And to put it another way, your identity is not defined by how other people see you. And it's also not defined by your current financial situation or your current health situation or your current living situation All of these things are external to you, they do not define your identity. How do you actually use this information to get more out of your life? Because that's what we're all about here. It is a More to Life podcast. So, first, you've got to bring awareness to where you're at right now with your identity. So, I have some pretty good journal prompts for you if you want to grab a journal, write them down for later, or even just answer them in your head. Most importantly, what kind of person do you consider yourself to be right now? And I want you to be brutally honest with yourself on this. If we really want to be our best selves, we have to dig through dig through the shit for a little bit. It doesn't, like, I'm not saying like you're a person, but just don't just brush the parts to the side. Nobody's perfect. Just be honest with yourself. But also highlight your good traits too. Give yourself some credit for that. Next, what kind of person do you consider your dream self to be? Or if you want to use the wording higher self or ideal self, whatever is most aligned for you. And for this, think of maybe a list of traits or what you'll be known for as your dream self. Now, let me ask you this. Are there any mismatches there? Meaning, are there any traits that you have currently that your dream self doesn't have? Or are there any traits that your dream self has that you don't currently have? When you identify these traits and these misalignments, these mismatches, that's when you can actually be intentional and figure out how you're going to build yourself into your dream self. You know, you build this trait and you diminish that trait, and that it's just bit by bit this happens. All the while you're slowly but surely gradually growing into your dream self. The next incredibly important journal prompt and a very important thing to look at is, how do others see you? And be really specific with this. So if you want to go in and say, how does my boss see me? How do my friends see me? How do my parents see me? How does my audience see me? All these things. Really get specific with how each demographic, I suppose, sees you. And then when you figure that out, ask yourself, does this align with how I see me? Because here's the kicker. If it doesn't align with how you see you or how you would like to be as a person, that's a sign that you're not showing up as your full self. And that, yeah, you might be showing up as a watered down version of yourself. But I do just want to mention, if you're feeling any kind of quote unquote negative emotion as I'm saying these things, whether you feel angry at me, you're like, this bitch, what does she know? Or if you feel a bit of sadness arising, any kind of resistance like that, acknowledge that. And I would strongly urge you to go deeper on that, because that's a sign that something I'm saying has triggered you in some way. And it will continue to trigger you unless you release it. So, awareness is first, then we can deal with it. But now back to the original question. Does how people see you align with how you see you? If your answer is yes, that is where you align with your greatest, hugest desires and goals. And also, I have a sneaking suspicion that you're ready to go even deeper on this. So, does that align with who you see your dream self as? And again, the trick is to be really painstakingly honest with yourself here and delve deep on the things that might not be so fun to realize about yourself. This is a huge, huge step towards you showing up as your dream self and ultimately living your dream life. There is so much to unpack here, and we're not even done, okay? I have more little tactics, more little tricks for you to try out. I'm going to share a few affirmations and language shifts with you so that you can really work towards that solidifying your identity, regardless of external circumstances. And feel free to say them along with me, okay? Number 1, I decide my identity. Number 2, I am confident in my identity regardless of my surroundings. Number 3, today I'm showing up as authentically me. And the last one, being my authentic self is the best gift I can give to this world. Whew, so really sit with those affirmations and definitely do those journal prompts if you really want to solidify your identity, because you deserve better than to feel like you have to water yourself down as a person and to not show up fully and to just not have the impact on the world that you know you can have and that you know you probably should have, because you're holding back, like I said, the gift that is you from the world if you don't. Okay, so I'll repeat the journal prompts for you in case you need a little reminder. So they were: what kind of person do you consider yourself to be? What kind of person do you consider your dream self to be? Discuss any mismatches between the two. How do other people see you? And feel free to go into specifics on this regarding specific people, because they likely all have slightly different opinions of you. And does how they see you align with how you see you? And just write out your feelings about these things. All right, quote of the week. Oh, okay. I stumbled across this yesterday on Instagram and I was like, whoa, that needs to go into this episode because it is so beautifully perfect for this, okay? So the quote is, grow so much that they have to get to know you again. Oh, right. Go out there and apply that this week. If you feel like there's something you've been holding yourself back from doing simply because it might shock or surprise people, let it shock and surprise them. Do the thing. This is where real growth happens. And as we always say, the reason for that is it probably is out of your comfort zone. And you deserve the life that's on the other side of that comfort zone. All right, so Q&A segment. The question from this week comes in from Melissa. And Melissa asks, can you choose your identity? Love the podcast, by the way. Thank you, Melissa. Oh, that's made my heart real happy. To that, I would say absolutely yes, you can choose your identity. It can definitely morph over time depending on what phase of life you're in, but you can absolutely choose it. And I'll also say, in order to really step into that new identity, there will be some beliefs that you need to shift in order to do so. So, to give you an example, actually, quite a personal example to me, to be honest. Let's say you've always been a really shy person and you want to step into this new identity of a confident woman. So, all your life, you may have been introverted. You let other people speak when you're in a group scenario. You don't really speak up yourself. You're a good listener, but you don't really do the whole speaking up thing. That was me. Anybody else naturally an introvert? Hey! After years and years of keeping your voice to yourself, your opinions to yourself, and letting other people say their piece, letting other people talk over you, even, that's going to instill some beliefs in you, such as nobody wants to hear what I have to say, or that it's not safe to use your voice. Things like this. And let's be honest, those beliefs do not align with the beliefs that a confident woman would have, do they? And that's where the language work comes in, and that's where the journaling comes in. When you shift those beliefs to, I am safe and comfortable when I speak up, sharing my thoughts with the world is fun and liberating, those are going to be a lot more aligned with a confident woman. And the reason I said fun and liberating and not sharing my beliefs with the world is the most powerful thing I've ever done, sometimes the jumps can be a little too aggressive and your subconscious mind will just be like, ha, good one. And unfortunately, where it's subconscious, so you don't even know. And then you realize what you're doing is not really helping all that much. So, take it in little incremental steps, but definitely take those steps, because the sad truth is most people won't. Most people won't take those steps or change those beliefs. So, thank you again, Melissa, for your question. And I would say, yes, absolutely, you can choose your identity. Whew, so thank you so much for listening to episode 10 of the More to Life podcast. Also, don't forget we do have video versions of the podcast. So if you are listening to this right now and you actually prefer watching a podcast, the YouTube channel for the podcast is linked in the show notes. Also, don't forget to pick up your Dream Life Creation Planner and or guided journal. I mentioned in the last episode that I had decreased the prices, but what I totally forgot to mention was there's only a limited amount of them available at that price. So there is a limited amount available and then the price will go up. So if you're looking for that extra guidance in how you can actually get from where you are right now to where you want to be in your life, whether that's through actually creating a plan for it or through guidance and more journal prompts like the ones that I shared in today's episode that really get you to overcome those mindset blocks, then go ahead and pick up the planner and or guided journal. Obviously, creating the plan and everything is in the planner, and overcoming your mindset blocks and things like that are in the guided journal. But they complement each other really, really well, and they also have a 60% off coupon code inside for the other one. So if you buy the planner, there's a 60% off coupon code for the guided journal. So happy fucking days, especially while they're still at the lower price. Snatch it up, girl. Again, thank you so much for listening, you absolute beauty. Feel free to share the podcast on your Instagram stories. It makes my heart so happy when you do that, and I will always share you sharing it on my Instagram stories as long as you tag me so I can see it. That helps me so much to reach more women, to inspire more women to actually go after their dream life. And after this episode, their dream self. And it's especially helpful in these early stages of the More to Life podcast. So thank you in advance if you do decide to share. Let's all rise together. Let's share this information. Other than that, I will speak to you all very soon. Mwah!